I could ask ChatGPT, what's wrong with the world? But I already know. Humans have seemingly lost the ability to think. Good evening, Kemp Toastmasters. Start with a joke. An engineer, a physicist, and a mathematician are sitting in identical kitchens. Fire starts on the stove in each kitchen. The engineer looks at the fire, measures the temperature, the size of the fire, and so on, determines how much water is needed to put it out, adds an additional margin of additional water for safety, fills a pot with the water, pours it on the fire, and goes back to work. The physicist looks at the fire, calculates exactly how much water is needed to put out the fire based on the chemical composition of the materials they're burning and all the other factors, fills a pot with water, pours it on the fire, and goes back to work. The mathematician looks at the fire, figures out exactly how much water is needed to put out the fire, extrapolating from first principles. See XKCD 435 if you don't know what I mean about the mathematician. And then he gets back to work. The mathematician missed the most critical part, actually putting out the fire. An artificial intelligence based on large language models, LLMs, such as ChatGPT, often misses critical steps too. Our job as humans is to think. And AI can't do it all for us because it isn't, as the mathematician found out when his house burned down, it isn't just a matter of amassing and analyzing pure knowledge. You have to think about what it all means, verify it where necessary, and then turn those thoughts into useful actions. Real world example based on something I spoke to somebody about earlier today. Think about this. 40 years ago, if you were looking for an item that was hard to find, perhaps a particular style of clothing, you might ask a friend for the name of a store that carries it, and then look in the yellow pages, remember those? To find out where the store is located. 20 years ago, you would have Googled it, finding the website of the store to get the location and the store hours. And now what do? ChatGPT, can you find me a place to buy such and such? And ChatGPT will give you information, but will give you the right information. Maybe, maybe not. And that's where your ability to think comes in. There is an important part missing in the above story. 40 years ago, if you were smart, you didn't just get the address from the yellow pages, you would get the phone number as well, and you'd call the store to verify their hours and location. And if you got someone helpful on the phone, you'd even ask if they still carried the items you were looking for. 20 years ago, if the page found by Google was anything other than the store's own website, or if the website didn't seem to have complete information, you would call or email the store to verify the hours and location and maybe even ask if they still carried the items you're looking for. Now, ChatGPT knows it all, and rife with enthusiasm, we ask it questions. But it doesn't just feed you a phone number and an address. It tries to talk like a friend, or even worse, like an expert. But it isn't an expert, and it really is not your friend. An expert knows when an answer has insufficient information to be reliable and will tell you. A friend? Well, it depends on the friend. A good friend will tell you when they know the information is old and possibly unreliable so that you can find out for yourself. An acquaintance who's trying to be your friend, but who doesn't understand that wrong information is worse than no information at all, will tell you what they think you want to hear, even if it might be wrong. A friend of mine, the story, told me that a few months ago she was looking for a particular style of clothing. Instead of asking friends, she asked ChatGPT. ChatGPT did give her the right answer in terms of which store to go to, but it gave the wrong answer based on old information about where the store was located. She traveled a couple of hours to get there because, of course, ChatGPT knows everything, only to find out the store was no longer there. She eventually got to the store through the website and found out that the store found out the correct location and the hours and everything else, and she was able to buy the clothing she was looking for. She learned an important lesson along the way. ChatGPT and other AI systems are not experts and they're not friends. They're more like the person who wants to be a friend and wants to say things that you think that it thinks you want to hear, whether right or wrong. Shopping for clothing isn't that big a deal. But imagine if a sounds good to me answer from an AI resulted in a medical crisis because you ignored symptoms or took the wrong medication, or resulted in traveling through dangerous areas. Happened occasionally when people blindly follow a computerized mapping system, or any number of other problems. People need to think. AI is a wonderful tool, as are search engines, as are computerized maps, as and indeed getting advice from friends. But anytime you have a big question, you need to stop and think. The bigger the question, the more you need to think. Like the mathematician figuring out how to put out a fire from first principles, the raw knowledge of an AI won't help you all by itself. Depending on the situation, you need to verify the information, you need to act on the information. Figuring out what you need to verify and how you need to act all requires thinking. They used to say that TV made people dumber because they would sit in front of a box watching other people all day. That may be true, but I think far worse is asking an AI for everything you need to know without realizing that the AI is not looking out for your best interests. It's just giving you information that it thinks will be sound good to you. So in the words of Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. And the words of Donald Trump, thank you for your attention to this matter. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.